Okay, class, in this lesson, you're going to learn how to determine the equation of the line of reflection. So let's go ahead and get started with an example. Okay, so here we have two triangles, A, B, C in blue, and then its reflection, X, Y, Z. And so here we need to figure out where is the line of reflection. And our goal is to determine the equation of this line, and we're going to do this in slope-intercept form. Okay, so there are several steps to follow in doing this, but let me go ahead and outline what they are. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is to identify two midpoints from this diagram. We need two midpoints because we need a minimum of 2 points to establish a straight line. Okay, that'll be number one. Number two is from those points, we will also determine the slope of the line. And then once we have the slope of the line and at least one of the points from the line, which we will have from number one, we will use the point slope form to determine the equation of the line and convert it into slope intercept form. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So we have 3 points in this triangle, and all we need is two of them, or are two of them. And we're going to first find the midpoint of point C and Z. Okay, so we want to find the midpoint of C and Z. So the first thing to do is establish the coordinate for C and the coordinate for Z. Okay, so the coordinate for C is going to be -1, 4. Okay, this point is at -1, 4, and then point Z is going to be at 3, 0. Okay, so we're going to say that Z is 3, 0. Okay, now the equation for the midpoint is, if you recall, I'm going to write this right here. Midpoint is x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Okay, let me go ahead and just correct this because I didn't write that correctly. So that'll be plus x2. Okay, so if you take a look at these 2 points, we can call this x1, this is x2, this is y1, this is y2. Okay, so we're going to add those together, and we're going to get -1 plus 3 divided by 2, comma, 4 plus 0 divided by 2. Okay, so then what we're going to get once we simplify that is 1, 2. Okay, just to walk you through this, -1 plus 3 is equal to 2. 2 divided by 2 is equal to 1. So that's how we get 1. Okay, and then on the y coordinate side, we have 4 plus 0, which is just 4. 4 divided by 2 is equal to 2. Okay, so now we know one of the midpoints is 1, 2. Okay, so now that we've identified one of the points, we're going to go ahead and just plot it right here at 1, 2. Okay, now what we need to do is find the midpoint of another set of points, and so we're going to find the midpoint of A and X. Okay, A and X. We can also choose to find the midpoint of B and Y. That's a choice. There's no difference as to which one. I'm just going to go ahead and pick A and X. Okay, so point A has the coordinate -3, 2. Okay, -3, 2. So we're going to call this -3, 2. And then point X has the coordinate 1, -2. Okay, 1, negative 2. So point X is going to be 1, comma, negative 2. So then if we enter the points for the midpoint equation, we're going to get negative 3 plus 1. Okay, again, this is x1, this is x2, so it'll be x1 plus x2, and that's going to be divided by 2. And then our y1 and y2 will be added together, and that'll be divided by 2. So it'll be 2 plus negative 2 divided by 2. Okay, so then if we simplify this, okay, negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2. Negative 2 divided by 2 will be negative 1. And then 2 plus negative 2 is 0. And then 0 over 2 is 0. So we're going to get negative 1, comma, 0. Okay, so let's go ahead and plot that. Negative 1, comma, 0 is going to be right here. Okay, so the line of reflection is going to look like this. If we connect those dots on the graph, this will become our line of reflection. Okay, so now we know what it looks like, but we need to find the equation. So we've completed step number 1, identifying 2 midpoints. Okay, step number 2 is to find the slope. And I'm going to move this up a little bit so we have some room. All right, now the slope of a line, if you recall, is the following equation. Slope is equal to, and the letter that represents slope is m, and the slope of the line is y2, actually I don't need this, it's going to be y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Alright, so we want to find the slope of this line, okay, this red line here. So we're going to use these 2 points that we just established, which were the midpoints. So let's go ahead and write those. And I'm going to just keep them in red so that you know that they're midpoints. Okay, so we have 1, comma 2, and then we also have negative 1, comma 0. Okay, now just for the sake of clarity, I'm going to go ahead and label these so that you know which one is which. Okay, so I'm going to say that this is x1, and this is y1, and this is x2, and this is y2. Okay, so let's go ahead and plug these into this equation. And so we're going to get m is equal to y2, which is 2, minus y1, which is 0. And that's going to be divided by x2, which is negative 1, minus x1, which is 1. Okay, so again, y2 is right here, y2, so we put that in there, minus y1, okay, y1 is, I'm sorry, it's the other way around. y2 is 0, so let's go ahead and fix that. So it'd be 0 and then minus 2. Okay? All right. So y2 again is 0, so we put that in there. And then y1 is 2. Okay? So it's going to be minus 2 because we're just following the equation here. x2 is negative 1, so we insert that here. Minus, so we keep the minus sign. And then x1. x1 is 1, so we keep that there. Okay? So now that we have the numbers in the equation, we can go ahead and simplify this. So this then becomes negative 2 over negative 2, which is equal to 1. Okay, so now we have a slope of 1. And then the last thing we want to do is use the point slope form to establish the equation of the line. And I am going to move this a little bit higher so we've got some room. Okay, Now, if you recall, the point slope form follows this format. So it's y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. Okay, so where do the x1 and y1 come from? x1 is in this equation. We're going to go ahead and use this point. Okay, you could use this one as well, but since I have this labeled as x1, we're going to go ahead and use that. And then my y1 will come from this point right here, the y coordinate of this point. Okay, and our m, we already solved for that, so we're going to put that in there. Okay, so let's go ahead and insert the numbers. It's going to be y minus y1, which is 2, is equal to my slope, or m. That's 1, we just solved for that, times x minus x1. x1 is 1. Okay, so then this becomes y minus 2 is equal to x minus 1. Okay, now what we need to do is put it in slope-intercept form. Okay, now slope-intercept form, if you remember, I'm going to just write it right here, slope-intercept. Okay, that's going to be y is equal to mx plus b. Okay, mx plus b. So as you see, we don't have y equals mx plus b. So what we need to do is isolate this y and move this negative 2 over to the other side. And to do that, we will add 2 to both sides. Add 2 to both sides, and we get y, these cancel out, is equal to x plus 1. Okay? Now you see that this equation is in this form. Y equals mx, m here is 1, plus b. B is my y-intercept. Okay? So then this becomes our answer. Y is equal to x plus 1. And if you take a look at this line right here, okay, this is obviously y equals x plus 1. Well, why is it obvious? Well, if you were to graph this line, you'd have to first start with the y-intercept, which is right here at 1. And then we see that our slope is 1 because the coefficient in front of x is just 1. And that's a positive 1, so we would rise up 1, run over 1. Rise up 1, run over 1. And as you can see, that line matches what we have drawn here. Okay, several steps here, but hopefully this is clearer and makes sense to you. If any of this was not 100% clear, I highly recommend that you go back to the recording, the beginning of this recording, and listen to it again. Thank you.